Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we got a special treat for you. We're going to be looking at this Glock 26 pistol here that has been in a flood, and namely a hurricane that happened down in Florida. And a buddy of ours wound up, dealing with this Glock, getting subjected to some pretty severe corrosion in some areas. And we're going to attempt to clean this up for him a little bit here. If you guys want to learn more about gunsmithing in general and gun care, definitely look into STI. They're a great group of guys there with some really good gunsmithing programs that can point you in the right direction and teach you a lot of these techniques. We're going to move on a little bit here and discuss this Glock. So this is an early Glock with a Tenifer finish, and we can see we've got some rust here on top of the slide that's pretty gnarly. All right, along the back, we've already disassembled the pistol, obviously. We didn't want to discuss that in this video because we wanted it to be relatively quick and to the point for the most part. We can see some of the other small components have got a pretty good bit of rust. I don't think anything is going to have to be replaced. I think we're going to be able to pretty much just clean everything up. But I wanted this to be an interesting exercise in what will rust on a Glock when it is subjected to some of these really nasty conditions, okay? So we got some corrosion here. It's going to have to be attended to. The block itself has a little bit of corrosion. That's really not a big deal. A little bit of corrosion off the back of the striker made its way onto the plastic back plate. That's not a big deal. The sights obviously have rust frothing out. That's not a big deal. I went ahead and pulled the sights off this gun because this particular person does want to run with some of the Trigicon night sights. We're going to put those on here a little bit later. I do have the tools necessary to do that. No corrosion on the barrel, surprisingly enough. The bore itself looks really nice and shiny. The barrel did not really corrode at all. Little bit of corrosion here on the slide stop. Nothing that won't clean up. Not a big deal. I don't think we're going to have to contend with any respringing. This particular gun was submerged. Okay, so it had a good bit of moisture on it from the hurricane. Our connecting bar between the the rear assembly here and the trigger bar got a little bit of rust coming in and out of some of the components. We could opt to ultrasonic this thing and it would probably clean up just fine, and we probably will do that just for the sake of making this whole situation a little easier. We'll go ahead and pull this apart and have a look. Yeah, we got a little bit of oxidation on that spring there. I don't think that's going to be a major deal. That's going to clean up just fine. All the small components we can basically just go through and clean, no problem. That's not going to be an issue. So a lot of our small components can be cleaned up simply with just a stiff bristle brush. We have a nylon brush and a brass bristle brush. Is that phosphor bronze? That's brass. And I have a tift of brass shavings right here that I just kind of clumped together. And this is a nice cheap way. You don't have to really bother with buying bronze wool if you don't want to. You can use this brass wool, and this is just brass shavings from our trimmer. We've got some quad alt steel wool here. Okay, that's going to help. We got a few Q-tips and some patches and a little bit of oil. So we'll use a couple of methods here. One of the most important things about this rust, it looks bad, but let's just take a little bit of this nano Kroil. I'm going to drop just a little bit of Kroil on there. We're going to go over this with this brass shavings here, and let's just see how that looks. You would be so shocked at how well this stuff will clear rust up. Okay. Now, this person is considering refinishing this Glock, and we're strongly recommending that they don't, because that rust on that slide is I'm telling you guys, it's superficial. It is not going to be a problem, okay? All right, we do have a little bit of pitting, but that cleaned up great, guys. Look at that. Just a little bit of elbow grease with a little bit of an abrasive and some oil goes a long way. It did get into the slide a little bit, and that could eventually rust in there. Maybe. All right. And this was our primary concern, was the slide itself having some potential rust and corrosion and pitting. Since we are dropping sights on this, we obviously want to make sure that this dovetail in here is nice and clean. Okay. Just going to go through and take our brass shavings. And guys, I didn't even buy this. This is free. You know, a lot of people throw their brass shavings away from their reloading bench. You can use this stuff over, right? Waste not, want not. We're going to take our brass shavings, just get in there and clean that up. Now, there's a bit of corrosion on the slide face. Try to get in there a little bit. May have to grab the brush for that. I wanted to just show you what you can do. You don't want to get crazy because you know you will start to wear this finish down, but I think we're going to be able to get a lot of the surface corrosion off of here, and we're going to strongly recommend that the owner of this pistol do not remove the finish from this gun and attempt to refinish it. I know that, you know, they want stuff to look good and everything like that, but I would strongly recommend just leaving this like it is. And we don't want to get crazy, but we're just gonna wipe that off. And it's brightening up a little bit where the corrosion was, but I don't think it's so bad that it's gonna, you know, pose a major issue here. Okay, let's see what we got. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. It is pretty gnarly. I don't know, you know, other than getting the surface rust off and then oiling this up and preventing any future corrosion, there's not much we can do there without removing the entire finish and refinishing the slide if they want it to go, you know, back to some form of a complete homogeneous color. We could degrease this and maybe hit it with some clear Cerakote or Duracoat. That might be one way just to keep that from rusting any further or from gathering more rust, okay? That's one option. So, you know, refinishing Glocks is a really weird thing because, you know, this Tenifer is some pretty gnarly stuff, okay? And it imparts a lot of really interesting characteristics, and it's actually a very good finish in terms of corrosion resistance. This damage on the top of this slide, it's here, okay? It's not going anywhere. They sell products such as Durafill. You could fill that in and maybe sand it back down and refinish it, and you may not see it. The thing is, this is a work tool, okay, for the person that this is going back to. It is a functional work tool. I would say strongly recommend to just let that lie, okay? So we're going to go ahead and clean up the rest of these small parts. I mainly wanted this video to be about how you can use basic stuff like this to remove rust. And everybody thinks it has to be this this crazy tried and true thing. Kroil is a good product for just getting in there and creeping in there and getting some of that rust out. Now obviously if you have an ultrasonic cleaner, you can use an ultrasonic to help you know, loosen a lot of this up, which we may do just for our sanity. But I wanted to show that, you know, with just basic techniques and a few hand tools, you can get stuff to clean up pretty well. You know, it's really just, a lot of it is superficial surface rust that I don't think is going to be a major issue at all, okay? Like, you know, the rust that we've got on this trigger bar here, that's probably going to clean up with just, here, we'll use some LPS this time. Just get in there with even just smooth bristle brush. Doesn't have to be a whole heck of a lot going on there. Just get that oil in there and let it creep, and you're getting the, you know, the corrosion resistance. Okay, look at that. That rust, it's just superficial surface rust. That is nothing that won't clean up, no problem at all. This unit doesn't even really need to be gone through an ultrasonic. We're mainly just getting in there and oiling all this back up real good, and we'll remove all our excess oil and just make sure that, you know, our oil's creeped into every area that it can go into. Yeah, that cleaned up beautifully. Not a big deal, okay? Obviously stuff like our barrel, I mean, it doesn't have any visible corrosion, but we want to make sure that we're preventing any corrosion from forming. Just go through and just give it a good once over, good cleaning. Our primary corrosion really on this entire unit ended up being the slide, and I'm not overly concerned about this bit of pitting. There is some visible pitting on this that's really never going to go away, but I'm going to leave that at the discretion of the person that owns this gun as to whether or not they want to do that, refinish it. I would recommend not refinishing it because it's so superficial. It's not that big of a deal. I'd carry this gun a little bit and then end up seeing if it was going to rust on you, like after rust, or have an issue or anything. But all in all, this thing is not bad considering it lived through a hurricane. I'm surprised it didn't wind up in a shark's mouth or whatever, I guess, going out to sea and wind up like Jaws with the license plate in the shark's belly or anything. So at least it didn't wind up having that sort of fate. Oh yeah, just a little bit of abrasion there from our brush. Broke that corrosion right up. There's a little bit of corrosion still right there. Yep, very, very superficial corrosion. So if anything, it actually does speak volumes for this finish from Glock. The Tenifer finish is great. Now, a lot of the modern Glocks don't have Tenifer finishes because it's actually like an EPA thing now. They can't apparently apply Tenifer anymore because of its, I don't know, its properties. I guess it's against the EPA's regulations to apply it. So now they have to use like basically what's essentially a black oxide style finish. And we've seen on the more modern Glocks, like Chad's Model 43 and everything, that he was having some issues with corrosion, okay? And that's just simply from your body sweat and things like that. And there's a little bit of superficial corrosion right here that was starting to develop around the locking block that we definitely want to attend to. You can certainly see that corrosion there. It's pretty gnarly, okay? Good bit of corrosion. No big deal. We can just go through, same thing. A little bit of oil, whether you run Croil, LPS, CLP, whatever. As long as it's a decent oil, you can get in here and just clean that up with a stiff bristle brush. And look at that, superficial, came right off. Just surface rust. This is not something you'd want to let sit a long time. You could definitely begin to pit the metal. And there's really nothing on this pistol that I see really needs to be replaced, okay? No replacement necessary. All these parts are going to clean up just fine. This gun is still 100% functional, okay? No big deal. And like I said, we could, if we wanted to, we could ultrasonic this stuff. I'm just trying to show you, it don't really take a lot. Just a few bits of effort with some hand tools, and you can get these things cleaned back up. So I think you guys understand what we're getting at here. We're going through, removing all our surface rust off of this pistol. I'm going to put the Trigicons back on it. I'm going to mechanically zero the Trigicons, and then we're going to go out back and test fire this unit. And that part there cleaned up beautifully. Not a whole lot of corrosion, a little bit right here. Right where that pin intercepts the top here. Any place you've got little crevices for water to seep into and to kind of hold there, you can get some superficial surface corrosion, just like we got right there. Look at that, cleaned up just fine. Okay, I'm going to go through and just continue what you see here. Our striker doesn't look too bad at all. The spring obviously is not exhibiting any type of oxidation or corrosion. Same thing on our recoil guide rod assembly. I actually expected it to be much grosser, but it's really not bad. No corrosion present on that. And that is a dual recoil spring assembly that you see in the short guns. I'm going to pay a little more attention with a stiff bristle brush with this, but for the most part, everything's looking good. We'll get in here and clean up these recesses. And of course, this is just a polymer frame, so there's not a lot that can rust here. But the rust can seep off of the metal components and sort of creep its way into the rest of the gun. So we are going to just go ahead and wipe this guy down. Not really that big of a deal. Now I can see why this person, potentially thought that the gun may need to be refinished. If it were me, I'd probably just going to leave this gun alone and not bother refinishing it because I just don't feel like it's necessary. Okay, I don't think that we need to worry about that. But I'm going to get in here with some Q-tips, like some of these hard to reach areas. We can get in here. Some of y'all need Q-tips on those nasty ears. Okay, we're going to get in here, just clean this area up. Just a little bit of rust. Superficial rust that's just part of the part that was coming into contact with the frame. I hope you guys, get what's going on here. This is really, really simple. Really straightforward. I mean, you're just going to go through and detail the gun, clean it. You know, find every little crack and crevice, anything that a part's come in contact with. Look for corrosion, look for any type of residual corrosion, loose rust, anywhere. Just get in there and clean her up. Anywhere that salt water or moisture could have seeped down somewhere, you want to add some oil. And then what you could do, once all these parts are cleaned up, you could just lightly oil everything, blow it off with an air nozzle until it's dry to the touch, reassemble, and test. And at this point, I think it's safe to say the Glock held up really, really well to corrosion. There was a bit of corrosion, but even as this gun came to me, other than the bit of corrosion that wound up being on the slide itself, I feel like this gun would have still been functional, no problem. Okay, so that's a good testament to the Tenifer finish. It's a shame that most of the new Glocks don't use a Tenifer finish anymore. This really is an excellent finish. So I'm going to get the gun cleaned up, the sights installed, reassembled, and let's go test fire this thing. All right, guys, looks like our Glock 26 cleaned up just fine. I'm going to recommend that the person that owns this gun, don't refinish it. A little bit of cancer on the top that, brightened up a bit. Just from the surface rust, but inside of the gun is clean as a whistle. Had a little bit of superficial rust that we cleaned up on it. We're going to test it with 10 rounds of Federal HST 124 grain duty ammo, which is likely along the lines of what this particular person uses as their duty ammo. And this is a backup gun, a backup duty gun. Good thing it didn't get ate by a shark, so it's good to know if your Glock winds up in a hurricane, you're probably going to be okay. All right, so let's see. We got our Trijicon three dot sights installed. We're going to make sure they're shooting to point of aim and then get this gun back. All right. I ain't shot a 26 in a minute. Let's have some fun. Uh-oh. That was me. I hit the magazine release. Let me look at that. Not a whole lot to hold on to here. All right. Other than my malfunction, that was me, my palm hit the magazine release right there and knocked the magazine out. A little 10-shot mag there. The gun's functional. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think we're good to go. Guys, thanks for watching today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. This is just meant to be kind of a quick rust cleanup on this Hurricane Glock. Maybe you guys learned a little bit of something there, a couple of little hacks there. Definitely want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters, folks who purchase man cans, t-shirts over on the website. All those funds go right back into supporting our channel, supporting content like this. So thank you guys very much. We hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.